She replaced me with her real dad at her wedding, but asked me to pay the bill. I was already gone. My name is Greg, and for over 15 years, I stepped up as the father figure in Maya's life. She was just 8 years old when I married her mother, Lena, and from that moment, I treated her like my own flesh and blood. Her biological father, Rick, was barely present. An occasional birthday card, maybe a phone call once a year, but nothing that resembled the day-to-day responsibilities of parenting. Meanwhile, I was there through everything. I attended every parent-teacher conference, comforted her after her first heartbreak, taught her how to parallel park, and stayed up countless nights helping with school projects or talking through life's growing pains. I never referred to her as my stepdaughter. She was my daughter, plain and simple. So, when Maya got engaged, I was beyond thrilled. She asked me to help plan the wedding, and I threw myself into it like it was my own child getting married, because it was. I spent thousands. We're talking about high-end catering, a beautiful venue, custom-designed invitations, even flying in flowers she had seen in a bridal magazine. When she found the dress, I paid for it without hesitation. I never once questioned the cost. This was her big day, and I wanted it to be perfect. I was so involved that I never anticipated what came next. The rehearsal dinner. The first red flag appeared at the rehearsal dinner. Maya gave a toast thanking everyone who had supported her throughout her life and her journey to this point. She mentioned her mom, her friends, her bridesmaids, and then very emotionally she thanked her dad, Rick. Me. Not a word. No acknowledgement. I sat there blinking, trying to convince myself it was just an oversight. Maybe nerves. Maybe she was saving something special for the big day. The wedding. I was wrong. When the ceremony started, I wasn't standing at the altar, waiting to walk her down the aisle. I wasn't even in the front row. I was seated in the second row with extended relatives. Rick, who had flaked on her birthdays and skipped her graduation, walked her down the aisle. And the way she looked at him. Like he was a superhero who had always been there. Like I had never existed. I didn't even get a mention in the reception speeches. When Maya and her new husband gave their toast, they thanked the people who shaped us into who we are. That included Lena, Rick, even the groom's second cousin who helped with seating charts. Me. Nothing. I sat at a table near the back, next to a couple I barely knew. And as I watched them cut the cake, laugh and dance under string lights I had paid for, something inside me broke. At first, it wasn't even anger. It was this dull, empty numbness, like I was watching a movie where the lead character had suddenly been written out without explanation. But then the numbness turned to fury. Not explosive, shouting fury. Quiet, cold fury. The kind that comes from years of being reliable, loving, present, only to be cast aside when the spotlight came on. So I left. No scene. No announcement. I got up, walked to my car and drove home. While the party rolled on, I sat on my porch, sipping a glass of bourbon, finally understanding that sometimes love and loyalty aren't enough for people to value you. The next morning I got a call. Meh. Frantic. Apparently, there had been a mix-up with the final payments. The venue and some vendors were still expecting their checks, and she was hoping I'd cover it, as we discussed. I calmly told her, Maya, I think you should ask your dad. Dead silence. Then, but he can't. Can't, I asked. Or won't. Blick. Hung up. I wasn't going to fund a performance where I didn't even have a role. I wasn't going to reward being discarded like a placeholder. Lena wasn't thrilled. She didn't say much, but the atmosphere between us shifted. Awkward. Occasionally, I'd catch her giving me that look, the one that silently says, "Did you really have to do that?" I did. A week later, Maya called again. Not to apologize, of course not, but to clear the air. "Hey," she started, sugary sweet like nothing had happened. "I feel like there was a misunderstanding about the wedding expenses." I let out a dry laugh. "There was no misunderstanding," I said. "You made it crystal clear how you see me. You wanted Rick to have the spotlight. That comes with a bill. If he's your dad, then he's your dad in every way." She tried to backpedal. Said she just wanted Rick to feel included. That it didn't mean I wasn't important to her. No, Maya, I replied. Rick is your biological father. But I'm the one who raised you. And if that means nothing to you now, then I don't see why my money should either. He called me petty. Said I was making it about myself. That's when I knew there was no getting through to her. I hope your wedding was everything you dreamed of, I said. But I won't keep being the guy you rely on when it's convenient and ignore when it's meaningful. And I hung up. The fallout. That was the last real conversation I had with her for a long time. Lena stayed in touch with her, of course. I'd hear snippets, how money was tight, how Rick had stopped returning her calls again, how the fairy tale was starting to crack. I didn't gloat. I never would. But yeah, there was a quiet, bitter part of me that felt vindicated. She wanted a hero. Now she was learning that real heroes aren't just for photo ops. They show up in the ordinary, unglamorous moments, the ones that don't come with applause. The apology. Months later she called again. Her voice sounded different this time. Softer. Sure. Can we talk? She asked. And for the first time, I heard something I hadn't heard from her in years. Humility. I don't know where things will go from here. Trust takes time to rebuild. I'm not holding a grudge, but I'm also not rushing to forget. What happened cut deep. But here's what I have learned. Knowing your worth doesn't make you selfish. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. If you've spent your whole life being dependable, don't be shocked when people start depending on you without appreciating you. You can love someone with your whole heart and still decide that being taken for granted is where you draw the line. Maya may have had her wedding, but I walked away with the lesson.